Hey everyone, we finished our inner borders. You know what that means. Hi everyone, Cristin Som here, and we are continuing with our Jingle All the Way quilt and actually getting really close to the end. Oh, I'm excited. So yesterday we did the inner borders. And they came out great, right? Don't you love it? It looks like it's just coming together, right? It makes it look like we're almost there. So that was fun. It wasn't that difficult. I know a lot of people have difficulty or frustration with doing the borders, but we're going to get through this, and we're going to have this hanging on our wall next Christmas, and it's going to be just beautiful. So again, like yesterday, pull out your measuring tape. That's going to be really important to measure your quilt. We need those measurements to be able to determine the size that we need for our quilting. So I'll tell you mine, but remember to measure yours. Just from the center, measure out both widthwise and lengthwise to see what yours measures at, and write it down. All right, so mine, the width is 42.5 inches and the length is 54.5 inches. All right, so that's mine. So then we're going to add on those outer borders. So we have to take in the measurements. So if my width, so the top and the bottom of my quilt, I'll need 42.5 inches of quilting. You really need 42 because the ½ inch will be inner seam allowance, but I like to do a little bit more than necessary just in case. So I'm going for 42.5 for the top and the bottom. And then once we sew those on, that means that we'll have an extra 8 inches, right? So 4 inches, actually more than that, I just realized. Sorry about that. I realized that our strips are 5 inches, actually 5.5, not the usual 4 inches. So let's talk about our fabric, and we'll talk about what quilting that we need. Because like I said, I was thinking we had 4-inch borders and we don't. So grab your packet. If you made packets, we're going to work on the outer borders. In my book, they're on page 17. That's the oldest book. So if you have the original fabric from way long ago, which has been long discontinued, then you have this Jingle fabric. All right. This came in black or white, and at the time you could choose. And I don't recall, I bought this years ago, so I don't recall if I chose white or if that the shop that I bought from, if they didn't have the black, because in the book it shows the black. So my guess is I probably decided I wanted white, but you could have the black Jingle fabric or the white. Either one will work great. If you bought from our sponsor, then you would have received the whisk fabric. All right, so this is our substitution. All right, and we used this for our whisk quilt just recently. We just finished that not too long ago. So you may have this from our sponsor. This has been discontinued as well, I'm almost certain, and she was able to get this for us. So this is a great alternative if you didn't buy the Jingle fabric from long ago. All right, so the Jingle fabric has the houses from our quilt. It's got the candy cane. I don't think we did ornaments, but it's got some trees that are not chenille, but they're like patchwork trees. And it does say, 'tis the season. What else? All hearts come home, and Jingle all the way. There's the Jingle. I was like, where's the Jingle? All right, so here's part of it. All right, so like I said, this is the older fabric that's been long discontinued, and it came in white or black, and our substitute from our sponsor, Oma Darling, she was able to get this whisk fabric for us, which is excellent as well. So either one of those, either color combination, whatever works for you. It says in the book that if you do the black outer borders, then you have the red inner borders, and I did red inner borders, and those that have the white outer borders should have a black inner border, and I didn't do that. I did red and white. You do your quilt, whatever works for you. But the thing that I want to point out, these are 5.5 inches, if I recall, 5.5 inches width, not length, width. So 5.5 inches. So we need 5 strips that are 5.5 inches times width of fabric. Great, right? Well, there's a negative to this. Let me just tell you. So I have mine. So 5 strips. cut out 5.5 inches times width of fabric. And then I did back mine with fusible stabilizer because we are going to quilt them, and I like them to be a little bit sturdy, a little bit stabilized well. So I did put fusible stabilizer on the back of mine. That's optional. It's up to you. So 5.5 inches. If you notice, all of the newer Kimberbell quilts are 4.5 inches instead of 5.5 inches. This one, the Jingle All the Way quilt, and I believe Hello Sunshine, also that older one with the bike on it, that was my very first quilt ever. So that one was also 5.5 inch borders. And that's great. It makes it a nice big quilt, all of that. The negative is good luck getting them in a hoop. And personally, I'm not going to do one strip at a time. I'm just not going to do it. If I spend a fortune on my machine, I want it to fit in less hooping. So that's the negative. Trying to get 2 of these into one hoop so that you have less hoopings, that's a negative, in my opinion. So you have options. So one option is I'm going to show you when we go over to the computer, I'm going to show you that I'm going to shrink mine down just a tiny bit to make them both fit in a 10 by 16 hoop, because that's my biggest hoop is 10 by 16. If you don't have that large of a hoop, because I did a poll in our group a long time ago to find out what size most people had for their biggest hoop, and it turned out most people had the 9 by 14 hoop, and that was a while ago. And so a lot of people may have upgraded to the Luminaire Solaris and the new Avenir, I think it's called. So you may have a bigger hoop, and great, no problem. But for those that have the 9 by 14 hoop, I'm going to show you how you can get 2-in-1 hooping. Actually, to do that, you have to cut your fabric. All right. So you have that option. And again, totally up to you. My original thought was like, yeah, super cutting these down. Not doing this, but that's up to you. You can have the bigger one and do more hoopings. You can cut it down to what Kimberbell does on the newer quilts. They're all the 4.5 inches. Either way, whatever works for you. If you do that, then you have a quilting design that is 4 by length of hoop, whatever hoop size that you have, 4 inches of quilting. If not, if you want to keep with the bigger one, then you need a 5-inch quilting design. All right. So either way, again, totally up to you. It's funny because originally I didn't realize that these were the bigger ones, and I came up with this fun idea of how to make a quilting design, a border, and to be able to use what I wanted, and I came up with all of that, and then realized that we've got these bigger strips, and I'm like, ah. So that didn't quite work out. So again, you have lots of options, whatever works for you on these outer borders. You can do lots of hoopings and have it be the regular size that it's supposed to be, or you can change it up a little bit, and depending on your hoop size and how much time you want to invest in this, either way works fine. So like I said, 5.5 inches times width of fabric. You can do 4.5 if you prefer. This one in black or white, or this one from our sponsor for the substitute. Either one of these will be great. All right, so let's talk about the quilting design. So first off, batting. I forgot to mention batting yesterday, and I haven't cut my batting yet, but you want your batting to be a 1/2 inch smaller than what you're going to use. So for the 5.5 inch fabric, we would want a 5 inch times the length of your quilt. Remember, you got to measure your quilt and then do it a 1/2 inch smaller. So we talked about that yesterday. Hopefully you got that. If you decide to cut it down, then you want your batting to be 4 inches. And again, this is doing the method where you add the batting onto your fabric with a glue stick or fabric spray before doing it. And we take out steps 1 and 2 of the quilting design. So we showed that yesterday in the tutorial. So hopefully you've got that and you're ready to go. So your batting, I'll add a little text box right there, telling you what size that you need your batting. And again, it will depend on your hoop size. All right. So you've got your batting. Now we need to talk about the quilting. So the quilting design that Kimberbell recommends is the, what was it called? Christmas 3 borders. Christmas 3 borders. All right. That's the one that is in the Jingle All the Way quilting bundle. And that's great. I don't want to do that one. I'm like super against doing that one, only because we just did it for Whisk, and I don't want two quilts in my house at the same time, We Whisk You a Merry Christmas and Jingle All the Way, to have the same outer border quilting design for the outer border. So I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do something different. You can use any of the border designs that you want, or you can do something a little different. And I'll show you that when we get to the computer, and totally up to you, completely up to you. I will say that if you go onto the Kimberbell website and click on borders, there's like, I don't remember, 7 or 8 or 9 pages of borders, and it doesn't show all of them. There's more than that. So what I would recommend doing instead is to go click on the holiday and then Christmas, and then look at them from there. And because a bunch of those are not in the general border design. So there's lots of options, lots of different things. We did use the Whisk one. We did use the Christmas Borders 3 for Whisk, so I just don't want to do that. It's super cute. It's got gingerbread, like perfect. Especially if you're using that fabric from our sponsor, it's perfect, no problem at all. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do one that was more geared toward Jingle All the Way, and so I'm choosing lights. So originally, before I realized that we've got this bigger fabric, I was going to do Christmas 4, Christmas 4, and show you how to make it into a border design. It was really simple. So that's what I was going to do. And then when I was looking through all the different options on the Kimberbell website, I saw that they already have one that is a border design that is light. So I'm going to go with that. It is, what's it called? I've got so many notes. Christmas 1. So Christmas 1 border is a lights design. And the Christmas 4 lights is not a border design, and it's busier. It's got more Christmas lights, and I liked that, but I also like the other one that has less. And whatever works for you, I'm going to show you a few options. But I'm going to go with Christmas 1 border. It is lights, like Jingle All the Way lights. I thought that was really cute, so I'm going to go with that. And again, it's just because I already used the Christmas border 3. So whatever works for you. And depending on your fabric, if you decide to go with the 5.5 inch fabric, then you want the 5 inch quilting design times whatever length of your hoop that you have. Or if you're going to cut down your fabric to 4.5 inches, then you want a 4 inch border design. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. I've decided I'm just going to shrink my quilting border down a little bit, because they are 5.5 inches. So if you do 5.5 and 5.5 in your 10-inch hoop, it doesn't fit. So I'm going to show you how to shrink that down. I'm going to show you how to manipulate a different design into a border if you want, because that was my original thought that I was going to do. And then I decided, well, I should go with the bigger fabric, just because I'm teaching this how to do, so it can't really change it too much. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, so the key is going to be to measure your quilt, to make sure to figure that out so that we know how much quilting that you need. So just like yesterday, the 14-inch design, if I do 3 hoopings of that, it totals to 42 inches. So that is enough for my top and bottom border. So my top and bottom border is 42.5 inches. So that 42 will meet that exactly. So that will be fine. And then if I do another hooping with the other 2, so that's the other thing, is we're going to have 5 strips. Did I mention you want 5 strips of the fabric? And then when we do that, we're going to take one of those strips and cut it in half, just like we did yesterday for our inner borders. We'll cut it in half and attach it on to 2 of the strips, so that half on each 2 of those strips, so that we can make those longer. And then it should come out for mine, if we've got 56, if we did 4 hoopings of fabric, that's 56 inches. So then I'm going to add another one, probably the 10-inch quilting design, for a total of 65.5. I'm assuming. I'll know for sure when I get over to the computer and look in the software. But I want a quilting design that's going to be at least 64.5 inches, because remember, we've got the extra 5 inches and 5 inches, or 4 inches and 4 inches, depending on how you're going to do your fabric. I'm going to go with the 5 inch today, even though I was really leaning toward the 4 inch. So keep in mind, this is going to be a lot of hooping, so you want to make sure to be ready for a lot of hoopings, a lot of stabilizer. We're going to go through a lot today, just like yesterday when we did the inner borders. I'm hoping to get it done in 5 hoopings. That won't be so bad. I think yesterday we did 4, 3, and then 1 extra, if I recall. And so I'm thinking we can do it in 5. So, and I am going to shrink it a little bit so that I'm getting 2 into 1 hooping. For me, that I want to do that. I feel pretty strongly about that. I don't want to do each one separately and be here for days. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring it over to the computer and show you how to do it. Hopefully I haven't confused you too much. I know these borders are a lot, but we're getting through it together, and I'm so excited to see them. Hey everyone, I am at my computer now, and the funny thing is that whenever I need to do the computer part of the video, I have to climb under my desk and unplug everything from my desktop computer, bring in my laptop computer and plug everything in and test it and make sure everything's working as it should. And it's been an insane hassle. And yesterday I was like, I'm done with this, and I bought a docking station, and everything just plugs in there, and my laptop's here and my microphone works with it. The webcam didn't work, but after about an hour of finagling that, I got that to work too. So now it should be so much easier going forward, hopefully, fingers crossed. So I'm going to start by opening up Embellishment Essentials, and let's see, we'll just move this over a little bit. All right, so I am on my 9x14 hoop. You always check that first. It's down here in the bottom right hand corner. And I'm actually going to need my 10x16 hoop, but maybe I'll show you real quick first. So for those that are using a 9x14 hoop, like I mentioned, you can cut your fabrics down to 4.5 inches times width of fabric instead of the 5.5 inches. That's what I was originally going to do, but I just want to show you really quick. So on your 9x14 hoop, I'm going to bring in the quilting design. So the one that is recommended, like I mentioned, is the Christmas border 3, and you can absolutely do that one. It's the one with the gingers on it. Let's see, where's my quilting bundle? Right there. Border Christmas 3, embroidery files, block by block. Pez is what I use for my machine. And then I was thinking I was going to use the 4x14. So I'm just going to click that, drag it over. This is the one that Kimberbell recommends for the Jingle All the Way quilt. And it's great. It's really pretty. The negative is that we just used it on the We Wish You a Merry Christmas quilt. And so I don't want to have 2 of them with the same outer border. So I just want something different, my personal preference. So what I was thinking, when I think of Jingle All the Way, I was thinking the lights. I think that just seems more Jingle All the Way to me. And so real quick, I wanted to show you, this was before I realized there is a border that has the lights, and it is Christmas. Where is it? Christmas 1 border. That one has the lights. So you can absolutely purchase that one from Kimberbell, and that's actually what I've decided to do. But I wanted to show you real quick because I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then realized that the fabric didn't quite work out that way. But I'm going to just show you real quick how I thought of a different option. So look at, if you open up these 5 steps of the quilting, we know that we don't need steps 1 and 2 because we're going to add the batting onto the border strips. So this is the placement and the tack down of the batting. We don't need that. So I'm going to click delete. I can even use my keyboard now. This is so nice. All right, so we have steps 1, 2, and 3 now, and on this 3rd step, that's that whisk. Well, it's the ginger, which I equate with whisk because I just used it for whisk. So I'm just going to delete that, and then look at, if you go and you open up that what was it, the 4 Christmas 4 lights. So I'm just going to open up that and just show you real quick an option to consider. So I think it was in the quilting bundle even, right? Christmas 4 lights. All right, so Christmas 4 embroidery files, block by block, Pez, and the 4x14. So I'm just going to drag that over, and look at that. You just made your own quilting design using 2 Kimberbell products. So using the Kimberbell, because the border, you can't get the border in the regular quilting designs. It won't have a border. The border ones are different, where it doesn't have the tack down all the way around. It just has it on the left and the right. See right here, left and right sides. So if you wanted to take a quilting design and make it into a border, just take the border and take out that quilting part, which is the 5th step. It's always the last step, and then import the one that you want from a different Kimberbell quilting design. Perfect. How easy is that? I was like, that worked really well. So that's what I was going to do. That was my plan. And you could shrink it up a little bit. If it's moved over, you can do an align and distribute. Like, it was just really simple. So that was my original plan. And then I realized that the fabric is 5.5 inches. So this didn't work with that. And then I also realized that Christmas one border is the light. So that's one option. If you have a 9x14 hoop and you want something other than the whisk, it's not whisk, it's the Christmas 3 border, then you could choose a different one and import it in, like, super easy. I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm going to open up the Christmas 1 border, which is the light, so I can show you the difference between the two. Let's see, Jingle All the Way, Christmas 1. I just downloaded that. Let me find it here. All right, Border Christmas 1, embroidery files, block by block, Pez. All right, and then the 5, because I'm going to use the 5-inch design, but remember I said you can just cut down your fabric and do a 4-inch like all the current Kimberbell projects. But here's the 5x12, I'm sorry, 5x14, and let's see, is it showing us all? Yep. All right, so you can see it's a less busy design, which is nice because our border fabric is quite busy. So you can choose to make your own this way, adjust it a little bit, and then, or just buy the Christmas 1 border. And if you do that one, you can do it on the 4-inch fabric if you decide that you want 2 of those in one hooping, or you can do it in a 5-inch design. There's a 4-inch design, 5-inch design. This is the 5-inch here that I'm on, because that's what I'm going to use, but it is available on a 4-inch. So that's an option. Absolutely, whatever works for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 of these, and to do that I actually have to shrink them down. I'll show you. So I'm going to jump to my 10x16 hoops. I'm going to go to Preferences and click on my 10x16 hoop, say okay. I'm going to come up to this compass button and click H for hoop. All right, and then from here I'm just going to click on this design, and I'm going to move it all the way over to the left. And I just want to show you it doesn't fit. I mean, you can tell it's not going to fit because it's 5.5 inches. 5.5 times 2 is 11, and this hoop is 10.5, almost 10 3/4. So it doesn't fit. So actually, I'm not even going to bother showing you because you can figure that out. So I'm going to click outside, so nothing's selected. I'm going to click on 1 and 2. The way that I do that is that from the right hand side, I drag over it. I found that's the easiest way to get them both. And then I'm going to delete it. All right, so those 2 are deleted. That's because I'm adding on my batting onto the first 2, onto the strips by themselves without needing to do it this way. So I'm going to then click on the overall design. So the overall design is 5.5 inches, and I do want to keep those tack down stitches. So I'm just going to shrink it a little bit. So to do that, just click on all of the design, and you can see up here we're at 5.5 inches. I don't want to change the width, the length. I still want that 14 inches. So I'm going to unlock this scale proportional option. I don't want it to scale proportionately. Proportionately, I can say that. So if you want to, you absolutely can, but I need the full length of the quilting, and I looked at it and it doesn't change it much. So I'm just going to change this 5.5 to 5 1/4. Simple, easy peasy. Click outside so that it or hit return, either way, so that it makes those changes. And then I'm going to move it over again, all the way over, and then I'm going to say Control C while I have this already selected, and Control V like victory to paste. So I have a second one, and I'm just going to drag it over to the very right hand side, and if I recall, it does fit with it being 5 1/4. So let's just check it. That might be a little too close. I don't want it over the hoop at all. All right, so let's see. Yep, tiny little bit of space in between. So this works for me. I want to do a color sort. Of course, I'm going to shrink this down a little bit here so I can see. So we've got 6 color steps, and we can shrink that down to 3 and do them both at the same time. Close this. All right, so this worked out really well. This was really easy. This is what I'm going to do, the 14-inch. Of course, you have to do it based on your hoop size. But like I was saying, if I do 3 hoopings at 14 inches, that gives me 42 inches of quilting, and I need 42.5 to have it go into the seams, but 42 will work just fine. Plus, when you line it up with the batting, it ends up being just the tiniest bit longer anyway. So I'm going to go with that. So 3 hoopings at the 14 inches for the top and the bottom. And then the left and the right side, I want 65.5 inches. And so if I do another hooping of this 14 inch, one more hooping at 14 inches, and then I can do another hooping of like the 10, probably the 10. I'm going to do the 10. So I am going to make 2 files on this one. On the previous one, I didn't need to make 2, but on this one, I am going to make 2 files so that I have 4 hoopings of the 14 inch and then 1 hooping of the 10 inch. And you could just do the 14 if you wanted. It's just going to run off onto your stabilizer. It's not going to matter, but you're sitting there waiting for it. So I'm going to be less patient since we're doing at least 5 hoopings, minimum of 5 hoopings. So for now, let's go ahead and do a color sort. So I'm going to do utility color sort. We've got the default blue, light orange, and turquoise. So we don't have any problems there. Color sort. It's reduced it by 3 color changes. Make sure you have these same settings. Click new view to check and make sure it did what you wanted. There's our placement for where we're going to put down our strips. And then the tack down, you can see it's on the sides only. That's perfect. And then the 2 quilting designs. So that's perfect. I'm going to do a file, save stitch file as. And I'm going to name this was the 5-inch, 5 times 14 times 2 outer borders. Save. All right, so once we have that one done, I'm going to make my second hooping, which I'm going to use the 5 by 10 design. So I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm going to bring in the 5 by 10 Border Christmas 1, drag that over, and actually I'm going to use my 10 by 10 hoop. So I'm going to go to my 10 by 10 hoop that I made myself. I brought it in myself. Where is it? There it is, 10 by 10. Say okay. All right, so while we're here, I want to make sure to remember to shrink this down. I'm going to make it to 5 1/4 inches unscaled so that it will keep the length. All right, and then I also want to take out steps 1 and 2. So I'm going to click on steps 1 and 2 and click delete. All right, and then once I have that all selected, I'm going to just use my arrow keys to move it over to the very left. All right, and then say Control C to copy it and Control V like victory to paste it. Move with my arrow keys to move it over to the right. And easy peasy. What's the saying? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so that's done. I'm going to do a color sort. We've got 6 color steps right now. Go to utility color sort. Thinks, and it's reduced it by 3. Click new view and placement for our strips, and then our tack down of the border strips and our quilting design. So I'm going to save that. So one quick thing is I did this initially and kept reducing it only by 1, and I was like, what is happening? It was making me insane. And I realized that it's because I didn't shrink it down, so they were overlapping. So if you run into that problem, make sure that your 2 items are not overlapping. It will not reduce it correctly if they're overlapping. So make sure to reduce it so that it fits into your hoop, and then it'll work fine. File, save stitch file as, and I'm going to name this 5 by 10 times 2 outer borders. Save. All right, and I'm going to send it to my machine. I don't think I sent the other one, so I need to do that too. All right, if you don't have that feature, you just save it to a USB stick, and we should be all ready to go. Here's the other one. Utility send Wi-Fi to brother is what it says on this machine. File sent to machine. All right, we're good to go. So I gave you an option if you are doing a 9x14 hoop that you can cut down your fabrics a little bit and make your own adjustments to your quilting design. I thought that was pretty fun. You can make any design into a border design using one border design from Kimberbell and one quilting design from Kimberbell, and just adjust it as needed. So I thought that was pretty cool. Or you can use a 10x16 hoop to get 2-in-1 hooping of the larger 5-inch fabrics, 5.5. But if not, if you don't have that large of a hoop, like I said, you can shrink it down, or you can do them individually. Whatever works for you. Let's get stitching. my shirt today. This is a fun one. I made this last year when we were working on spring showers, and it's raining today, so I thought it was just perfect. So it says Dance in the Rain. I added the words I believe, and used embrilliance to be able to make it arched. And then the design, I don't recall who it's from. I'm not going to guess. So I will add information underneath this video of where I got the design. It's a pretty cute one. And I added vinyl. Have you done that on a shirt yet? I think it's so fun. I added vinyl for the top of the umbrella. I think that's super cute. And the sweater was from Amazon. I will add a link telling you where I got the sweater. Here's a link to my Amazon storefront. If it's still available in Amazon, I will add it. If not, just look through the other sweaters that I have on Amazon. This is fun because it's like a two-tone one where it's white on the top and then darker pink on the bottom. Pretty cute sweater. I like this one. So anyway, I'll add all the information underneath this video. And how are you doing with your goal? I want to hear about your goal. So I haven't gone to the gym yet today. I went yesterday and worked really hard. I burned like 780 calories, something like that. It was pretty awesome. Great workout. And I'm going to do it again today. I worked until after 11 o'clock last night, like all day, other than I did go to the gym and that was it. Everything else was work on those inner borders and filming and taking photos and doing all the things. So today I am going to, I wanted to film while I'm showered and pretty looking halfway normal. And then I am going to go to the gym a little bit later and then just work on these outer borders. So I don't know, I'm going to join a new challenge, a new series on iFit. I really enjoy those. And the one that I picked is also in Portugal, like the one I did yesterday. So I'm working it hard. When I start editing my video, I'll probably work on something that doesn't need a whole lot of hand holding in between, because I like working on projects in between so that I can catch up on my own little to-do list of UFOs that we all have, those unfinished object projects to do. So I'm working on that. So you guys have been jamming. I'm watching it in Facebook and I see, you know, all whenever you post a picture of what you've completed that day and then you tell me about your goal and what you're working on your goal and background projects and all of that. I love hearing about it. So make sure to share.